We're live with another photo critique. What are we doing? Interesting lighting? Unusual lighting?
Unusual lighting.
And if you would like to be a part of the next critique, I was doing this frantically. I'm sure we've probably done this one before.
Yeah.
But the way I come up with ideas is I go to the F-Stoppers community and I just find photos that look really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I use them for inspiration for my idea. And the very first image, like the highest rated one currently on the F-Stoppers community, was this really minimalistic photo. So that is the next critique.
Minimalistic.
Yeah. So I just want to see very simplified images, you know, like you can go to fstoppers.com/contest right now and see the image that I'm talking about. But yeah, upload your most minimalistic photo to be a part of the next critique. Are you ready to get into this one?
Yeah, so are we giving away tutorials today?
Of course.
We have 1 through 10. The number 1 highest rated image is we're about to show here. Do you want to pick a number 2 through 10?
No, let's do number 10.
You're always going to do number 10, huh?
Well, because we always forget. It's confusing.
Yeah, I like to remember, and our audience there will keep us in check, I hope.
I mean, what's the problem with the first and the last one? Isn't that like keeping everyone in suspense to the end?
I don't know. I just feel like the second, third, fourth, and fifth image are probably least likely to be number 10. Maybe I don't know what I picked as number 10. I kind of just labeled them randomly.
What are you saying? That you want the second highest rated image to win?
No, I feel like the second highest rated image has almost a zero chance of possible. It has a zero possible chance of winning because it will probably not be in the 10th spot.
So you are saying that the second highest rated image should win?
Should have the possibility of winning. I don't know why we're having this debate at the beginning. We're going to go with number 10, but...
All right. So let's look at this first shot here. So this is the highest rated image. If I remember correctly, the last critique was pretty rough.
Yep.
People were submitting things and then sliding past you, and they weren't even really following the theme.
Well, this one, I felt like the top 10 or 20 images were great.
Yeah, me too.
But a lot of them had absolutely no details and were disqualified
no
because
description?
They didn't write anything about it.
Oh, no.
And then there was maybe one that wrote a sentence, and I can't remember if I kept that one or disqualified it too. It was like, this represents depression. And you're like, that, I don't know if that qualifies. So there are some great images in this critique that are not making the critique. There's great images in this contest.
Guys, we say this every time. If you want to be a part of the critique from now on, you have to write something in the description when you submit the image, because we always see these super interesting images and we're like, wow, how did they like that? Or wow, is this real? Is this Photoshop? What's going on in this image? And then we go to the description for an answer and there's no answer. And so we've just said, from now on, if you want to be a part of this, you've got to...
And maybe if you don't want to put the work in, you just wait till like your image has a high rating, I guess, and then...
It's not just write 3 sentences. It's not doing work. Just write 3 sentences and you can make it in. All right, let's go full screen on this big daddy here.
Interesting lighting. Unusual lighting.
Certainly, this is unusual.
Would you normally light a girl with like a cheese grater is what I'm guessing they've done here?
I would not normally do that. I would definitely say this is unusual. I feel like the model looks great here. The lighting is interesting. Interesting use of color. Really nice looking makeup and, you know, styling and everything with the hat. There's something about this image, though, that just...
gives you that funny business vibe.
No, I wasn't going to say that. I was just going to say it just doesn't... It's not my favorite that I've seen of the critique, but it's going to be interesting to see the other images you put in here because it sounds like many of the best images were disqualified.
There were some that I liked that... I don't know if they were totally unusual light because some of them were a little cliche in the photo world,
okay,
but they still fit unusual light.
Sure.
You want to go ahead and rate this?
Yes, sir. 3, 2, 1. I'm going 4. I was in between a 3 and a 4.
I like this image.
I do too. I think it's really well done. And you won a free tutorial. So send me a private message on F-Stoppers.
If you go to the critique, you can actually tell them who the winning
this
photographer
was taken by Emily Moore. Oh, I'm happy to see a female in the critique and winning.
I'm just happy to see the top image winning. I'm not going to go down the road of making it about genderly.
Of course.
I just want to see the best image
what?
win.
I like to put women on a pedestal when they deserve it, you know. maybe you like to celebrate men who win,
No,
but I like to
I'm
celebrate
just happy
women.
to see a great image win. You know, I don't know if it was a monkey who took it, I would be like,
Okay,
wow.
so now women are primates.
No,
We
I'm
see
just
where
saying,
you're going with
if
this, but
if
listen,
a
I'm
monkey
going to stop
won,
you right here.
well, there was that case where the monkey took the picture and the copyright
I
was
can't
awarded.
believe you talk about Emily like
I'm
this.
not saying anything about Emily.
She obviously knows what she's doing. She's not some monkey
totally
taking a
agree.
photo. Oh my God, Patrick.
We're obviously not a
She
politically
even wrote
correct.
in the description what monkey could do that. She says, this is 4 lights. An optical snoot with a spotted globe gobo provides the pattern. I would like for to read this to my mom or to my wife and be like, Mom, what is an optical snoot with a spotted globe gobo?
It's like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And they're like, do you want to call a friend? And you're like, I think a snoot could be a photography tool, but a globe, could it be a navigational tool? I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and do the 50-50.
So I'm even having trouble figuring out exactly what this is. So I'm going to guess, like a snoot is like basically a pipe that you would put on the front of a light to cut down on the beam. An optical snoot, I'm going to guess, is one that has a lens in it to make it even a tighter beam.
Okay.
I'm guessing.
Sounds about right.
With a spotted globe gobo. A gobo is a go-between, so that's something that goes in between your light and the subject. So we're shining a hard light through something, and she's calling it a spotted globe. What is a spotted globe? I would think something like a colander,
That's
with
what I was
holes
thinking
in
it
it,
was.
but that would be like a half globe or half sphere. So I don't know what a spotted globe
There's a
is.
lot of photos that were taken with these optical snoots that focus the light. I feel like we need to get one of these in our studio because it's all the rage. Everyone seems to be using them. I know Profoto made one that they discontinued, and it's thousands of dollars, but it would be fun to have one where you can project actual shapes because you've had trouble. I've had trouble putting gobos and getting the exact angles and lights. I actually have a video that's coming out in the next couple days about this, how you can use gobos to make weird shadows on people's faces, or you can just do it in Photoshop and it's 1,000 times easier and kind of undistinguishable. But I would like to see I don't know what everything you said is correct. I don't know what a spotted globe is though. I have not used that modifier before.
Well, Emily, awesome work, and again, good to see females up in here. All right, next up, is this the second highest rated image that you think deserves to win here? Is that what this is?
No, I mean, you can see on your screen the highest rated images, and no.
All of these got cut out. Like all the images that I put in the featured image got cut out. They got disqualified.
I don't know what your featured image is.
I put this one in the featured image. I put this one in the featured, and I put this one in the featured image.
Well, if you click the other tab next to it, you'll see the ones that made this
selected.
critique.
I gotcha. Sorry, guys. I can see this, but you guys can't because you're not logged in.
So they all didn't, but there's some
Two
of them.
of the images in the featured image didn't even make it into the critique.
They didn't write anything.
You guys did it to yourself.
So I think it's your fault
We warned you.
for picking them.
Dude, I only had a moment. I had to go.
Okay, anyway, here we are. There was a series, gosh, on HBO or maybe it was Netflix, and it was called like Room 13 or something. Somebody out there, do you know what I'm talking about? And it was a different director did each one of these 20-minute episodes in this series, and they were all kind of mysterious. And it would be like the hooker comes in and has the affair with the guy and something crazy happens. Or the guy leaves to go on a date and leaves the babysitter with the kids and the kids do something crazy.
I remember something about this.
The featured image for that hotel room series, whatever the name of the show was, it was like Room 9 or something. This image reminds me of that. Are you able to see it?
I'm Googling hotel room TV show, Room 104.
Click on that and see if that has Room 104. Maybe that was it.
Room 104 images.
this isn't what I remember, but maybe. I mean, yeah,
I mean,
this is. I mean, it's kind of this
Kinda
idea.
like this. So let's go
But
to this.
you need to fix your screen there.
Sons of bitches.
You need to learn how to.
This.
It wasn't that one,
You
but
just saw.
I think it was this
red.
ballerina one. There it is, HBO. Yeah, they had a bunch of featured images that were this neon kind of theme with different each episode. There's 12 episodes.
Let's go back and forth. Look, let's see. Is this the same photo here and here, or is it just red?
It reminds me of these images, Lee.
All right. It is kind of similar with like the color and then the door in the background or whatever. Okay. Are we ready to rate this?
I'm ready to rate it.
3, 2, 1. I'm going 2 stars.
It does not hold its own as well as
the ballerina.
And even that image, I mean, I'm kind of like, it looks a little strange, right?
It does look shit.
It looks like the composite work is. We're talking about the Room 104 by HBO. Something looks weird about it, but
poor Photoshop.
This feels. I think I read that this was an engagement shoot, which is a very strange engagement shoot for a couple to ask for specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's a little more forgiving and interesting if this was their idea than it was your idea and execution, but it just feels kind of cliche and cheap, and I'm not a huge fan of like images where like the girls are acting super scandalous. Like if you were to go through a high-end photographer's website and you saw an image like this, if they did it, it would be done in a more over-the-top way with crazier production, maybe more attention to the lighting and the theme. It'd be very over-the-top. Where this just kind of feels like, got the girl.
I mean, this
in the
is
back.
over the top, but you're saying the production value is kind of low.
The production value feels low in this.
I got you.
And maybe I'm having a hard time articulating why.
Can I change the subject really quick? You know, I've been talking to you for years, like, I want to direct a movie, but then I'd also like to do a documentary or something. And I was thinking about this earlier today, and maybe it's too late, and maybe there's 20 other people working on this, but the most interesting thing that's going on right now that has absolutely nothing to do with anything this video is about.
Where are you going with this?
Well,
this image has inspired you has reminded you of this great idea.
It did, and I'm just changing the subject, so apologies, everyone. This whole election fraud thing, sorry to get political, but it's insane, right? It's insane that, like...
If it happened, it's insane.
Right.
If it's, like, totally made up and people are still following it, it's insane.
Right.
There's
Either
every
way.
angle of it. There's probably more angles.
Right.
The people that made the accusations now are going in front of, like, Congress or going in front of boards of, law boards and stuff.
Yeah, like Giuliani's lost his right to practice law in 2 states.
And what's the other
now.
lady who was like,
Powell,
McCracken,
yeah,
we're going to send out, and now she's like, oh, I was just speculating if...
Well, you say that, but I saw her recently at some convention doubling down on everything. And she was like, Trump's going to get reinstated and everything. Anyway, I saw some clip, and Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy, he's doing... This sounds so insane. He's doing some sort of like cyber security event in Idaho or some crazy state that nobody wants to go to. Sorry, Idahoians. And he's saying that if you go to his event and you can disprove his election fraud evidence, he will give you $5 million. Like, he's going on TV and he's saying this. So I would have to imagine that there are people out there that are working to disprove this, even though I'm sure there's no way he'd pay or whatever. Like, there has to be somebody out there who's going to try to go to this thing and disprove whatever insane evidence he has. Or maybe it's real. Like, I don't want to jump to conclusions or whatever. I watched Mike Lindell's crazy little documentary, like Unequivocal Proof or whatever. Do you remember when he made that?
No.
Okay. Anyway.
But it's about election fraud, or it's about his business and how he became...
No. It's just about election fraud. It's like a live 2 or 3 hour video of him. Like, anyway. And I was like, wouldn't it be amazing to do like a documentary that you interview every single player in this. I mean, this is the biggest. This is like a world history type thing,
right?
You would think, but I'm like, what if nobody is going to this event and filming? And we've, with the coronavirus journals, we have so much footage that we've recorded of everybody talking about, there's like 30 different accusations of how the Democrats stole the election, right? Like, did they do all of them? Did they just do 5 of these? Is one of them true and all the other 29 are fake? Whatever. Like, I think a good, fair documentary that covered, like, anytime somebody makes a claim, they have to back it up, and then you have another expert on the other side who's either able to disprove it or not. And I was like, man,
this could be your documentary. This could
be and I just feel like,
or Lee is just wanting to go to the My Pillow guys convention, and you're like, how can I go to this without outing myself? I'll make a documentary.
I don't know. I mean, don't you think, like, it's such a good idea that the fear is that there's already huge production companies
and you watch Netflix and stuff, and how many documentaries have you watched? Like, I was telling somebody about the Jinx. These documentaries that are taking place while something crazy happens. I mean, the craziest one, it's the Making a Murderer. Was that the one?
Yeah.
Is that the one where I'm like? There's been several of them where they're doing a documentary, and while they're making the documentary, the one that's Icarus, is that the one where they set out to make a documentary about doping and if the guy can take steroids and win like a race on the bike, and while they're doing the documentary, just things start changing, and all of a sudden you capture something. I mean, there's a lot of them like this.
Yeah, the Jinx was like.
I have to believe somebody was making a documentary on election fraud, and then the actual election happened, and in a year they'll probably release this thing, and they were there in the moment, and they'll have better footage than you ever could. But wow, what a side.
Yeah, sorry to change the subject, but it's just been on my mind today because when I watched this video, I'm like, nobody's getting the $5 million, but I bet you somebody's going to try, and I would love to hear both sides, you know? Anyway, we'll talk about it off camera. Somebody's being super annoying talking about loving Totos, but then he gave a super chat, so now he's my best friend. The Foshin Man? I don't know what that is. Man, I love turtles.
You don't know the Foshin Man?
No.
The Foshin Man.
What are you guys' favorite turtle?
One that doesn't snap. One that I could hold.
Okay. I was going to say Leonardo.
Oh, you're going to go that route.
I was going to go that route. All right, can we get back to this? What are we doing?
This is crazy. You have anything more to say about this image? How you could improve it? How to make it less cliche? How to...
I just think the lighting is too hardcore. It's like the super hard red is just a little bit too much on that guy, and then the blown out pure white in the back behind the girl is just, it just feels a little like they took this in a few seconds.
Maybe that's one way that I could be a little bit more specific on how high-end photographers make their work look better, and that is the use of complex fill light. If you had more of the lamps on, but they were really subdued, and you just had more blue fill that's like really giving texture and detail in every element of the photo, I think that's an area where subconsciously your mind says this is either high production or this is really cheap. If you throw 2 or 3 lights in your scene and there's no modifiers and they're just kind of there, haphazardly doing the basic function that the light needs to do, it feels cheap. But if suddenly you have 20 lights or 10 lights or even maybe just some Photoshop trickery, but you bring up detail in the fill, with the fill light and the shadows and everything, you can make it feel like, wow, like the highlight way back here, or the shadow way back here on this coat hanger thing, like you wouldn't see that. I'm not gonna say you wouldn't see it, but stuff like that wouldn't be in super high-end portfolios, It would be like that coat hanger would be lit on its own in a very subdued way that might fit the whole theme. It might still be blue or magenta light, but it wouldn't have that vibe to it. Or
this would be taken by a super famous photographer whose name is so big he can just take crappy photos now, and then, and it's worth $1 million.
If you put, is it Kevin Federline and Britney Spears, if that was like their engagement shoot back in like 2005, this would be
What
like.
made you think of them?
I don't know. This guy just reminded me of a Kevin Federline.
I honestly.
I've just been. Have you seen all this? I don't want to go on another tangent, but the Britney Spears
yeah,
stuff.
I have seen a bit about it. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that term was a thing, where you could have a conservatory or conservatorship.
Conservatorship.
Yeah, I've never even heard of that until Britney Spears. But
yeah, I think it's like, if you're insane and like you can't manage your own life, then.
And I'm like, I haven't watched the documentary. People say it'll change your mind, but I just go to Britney's Instagram and I'm like, that bitch be cray.
Well, that's dude, probably why
every video is her doing the same dance, and you're like, dude, this girl's like on drugs, right?
That's probably, I don't know. I don't hang out on Britney Spears'
manipulated
Instagram
to
like
where
you.
her dad is like, you must make the same Instagram story.
I don't think he controls her life in that way. I just think he controls her finances, and he gives it, from his perspective, he's like, she's gonna do something insane if she has $100 million. So I'm just going to give her
she's of age
allowance.
and she made the money. I don't know. It's a whole nother story.
Hey, if she's acting crazy on Instagram.
Can we get back to...
Yo, you have control of the pictures. Swipe right, bro.
All right. I didn't know if you wanted to read anything else about that one.
Oh, do I need to do that?
I don't know if we do. We kind of ragged on it. So
Wayne Denny took this one. It's funny. I think it looks a little bit better on this screen than it did on that one. Go back real quick while I write this. Not sure if this qualifies as unusual, but it's a 3-light setup I did for a friend's engagement shoot. Oh, it is an engagement shoot. Blah, blah, blah. Just talks about lighting a little bit. Yeah, the thing is like, it's cool, but I always think of engagement shoot as like, that's what you send to your grandma, and that's what your kids are going to see one day, and then it's like, that's what mom is dressed like in the background. It doesn't feel like an engagement shoot.
Does mom like the fiance? Is mom like, I'm glad Johnny's marrying Savannah? Or...
All right, next
up. If this is you, I will end on this note. If this is you, you're probably like, man, our engagement shot that we came up with that was quirky with the gels is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I love that we got this photo, But if you're the photographer, I don't know that I'd put this in my portfolio. It needs to be raised to a different level.
Absolutely.
So again, if this is your client and they ask for this and you pulled this off with 3 lights and that's just what you did, good job. They probably love it, And it's probably the most memorable engagement session of your career of their session, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of it going in your portfolio, I don't know that it's strong enough for that.
All right, this image is incredible, and I don't quite know how this was done. And Julia, happy to have another female winner here, did not explain. And this is probably the one that you were talking about, like, should you even allow it? But she did write in the description. She writes, it's a self-portrait from a series studying a process of transformation.
Le Rêve, that's the dream. It's not Cirque du Soleil. It's the other outfit that is in Vegas. We went to that show. Remember
It's not Cirque du Soleil?
I thought it was like a different company.
I didn't know there was a different company.
But that's also called. It's a dream. Is that French?
Probably.
I would guess.
I don't know how this was lit. I don't know what of this is added in post, like that highlight across her cheek and the little speckles on her shoulder. I look at that and I go, man, that seems kind of hard to pull off and get it to look like that, until I think maybe it's just an overlay in Photoshop.
And then to think that that's a self-portrait. Like, how difficult are self-portraits to do? You did a pretty cool one with the RGB lights. Like, every time I see you on Facebook, like crazy. And I'm like, that one's cool. But self-portraits are difficult, and then to pull something off like this.
And then what do you think's going on with the lighting? Like, if you zoom into her nose, you can see how hard that key light is. We've got a really pronounced shadow under her nose, but we've got a pretty hard fill light. It's not like that shadow under her nose is black by any means. But then color-wise, is this just all Photoshop?
You're saying it's hard because the shape of the shadow under her nose is very tight.
Sharp, yeah.
But it's soft in the sense that there's a lot of fill that's making the dark, it's not black.
Correct.
Yeah, that's interesting. It almost feels like it's completely backlit, and there's like that crazy optical snoot thing again hitting her on the side of the face. And then there is some kind of hard light, but maybe maybe this image straight out of camera, like the shadows have just been pulled up so much. Have you ever shot something underexposed and you're like, this is a failure, like this image looks horrible? But then if you play around in Photoshop or Lightroom for 5 or 10 minutes, you start pushing it. Like where you can push the raw files today is so crazy compared to 10 years.
I know, it's pathetic, but I just kind of learned this, and
that every image is salvageable.
Yes, kind of. Yes, I was at a family reunion thing at the beach, and we go out to the beach. And I made this video, but maybe I don't think I posted it yet. Maybe I'll post it today or tomorrow. But they say, Lee, you got to take a family portrait. So I take everybody to the beach at sunset, and I face everyone into the sun. Yep. So it's like brighter light on them, and then we get like a blue sky behind them, but it's boring. And then what happens every time? Everybody's like, oh my God, look at that sunset.
Yeah.
Lee, why don't you shoot us in front of that sunset? And I'm like, guys, I don't have a light. I didn't even have a tripod. I had my camera on a trash can.
Yeah, and you're like thinking, we're all going to be black silhouettes, and the sky is either going to go pure white, or it's going to be amazing, but you're not going to see us.
So I told him this, and I was like, I will try to see what I can do in Lightroom or whatever. So I just exposed for the sky, and we aren't black, but we're pretty black. You know, like it looks horrible. And then I get into Lightroom, and I just go whoop, pull the shadows back, and then lower those highlights, and all of a sudden the photo looks amazing, and I'm like, this might look better than if I had lit it.
Yeah.
What the hell have I been doing my whole career, bringing an assistant around with a light, if all you have to do is move one slider now, and the camera has all the detail?
But you couldn't. If you did that on a D300 or a camera 10 or 15 years ago.
Back in our day.
Back in our day when we only had the D3 available, it didn't look like that. I mean, Pi did this at my bachelor party. It felt like a bachelorette party. He takes this picture under a canopy with like Vegas in the background blown out, and then there we are like in the shadows, and he does some preset. It looks great.
Yeah. Where's that image? It never got posted to Facebook, did it?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's on my camera, but
you got to post it to the Facebook. Like Facebook is the only place that I have photos. All of my photos are lost forever unless they were uploaded to Facebook years ago. Like Facebook just reminded me, like 10 years ago today, you were in Pisa, Italy with Katie, and there's a picture of us in Pisa, and I was like, oh wow, that's so awesome.
Meanwhile, I have every single photo I've ever taken on an iPhone. I can type in the search 2010, and images pop up. And
yeah.
I've somehow I keep buying the largest phone ever so that I keep importing every single photo and video in. And I love it. You're like, this is crazy. But I'm like, if I need to find when I had termites in the back of my house, or I need to find like something I enjoyed when I went, like I'm looking up Italy because I'm about to go to Italy tomorrow. And so I'm looking up things in Italy, and I'm like, I got the name of that restaurant that we really liked that's across the river.
Yeah, that's cool.
It may not be there, but it's like all of these little things I can find.
Oh, you can go to that restaurant that we liked so much.
Not the one that we went in
Rome.
The one that we went across the river. It was like Elias Friends or something.
It was like the only restaurant in Italy we liked.
Yeah, and I have pictures of the bathroom because it had a weird like foot pump and stuff, but I don't know if it's the same restaurant. Anyway.
Dennis gave us a super chat. He says, keep the live shows going, guys. Really appreciate it, including the coronavirus show. Well, thank you so much. We were actually just having a debate before we went live if starting a live show was the worst thing we could have possibly done for our YouTube channel. Because we started the Coronavirus Journal in the heat of the virus, and we were doing it on our main channel, and our subscribers were just dropping off on a daily, and we did it 90 days in a row, and we lost subscribers every day for 90 days in a row. And so I was just saying, like, maybe we shouldn't be doing live content at all, because it's not as polished, and we get off topic and we start talking about Britney Spears.
Britney Spears, you're talking about the My Pillow guy.
Hey man, you gotta stop.
Way more.
Gotta stop the steal. What's going on with Patrick's dog? He found a neighbor to watch the dog. Thank goodness, because my baby has been freaking out. His dog still pees every time I reach down to touch him, so it's gonna be better at not having to watch the dog for this next week. Next up, what are you doing on your phone?
I'm looking for that image. Did we rate this?
No. 3, 2, 1.
I love this image. I think this is like one of my favorite
incredible.
ones. It's like...
I go between like a 4 and a 5. Zoom in and make this a wide image.
How do I do that? Like crop it
Yeah,
to
bring
our
it down
screen?
just a little bit.
I mean, you
Like,
lose...
I'm digging that too.
It's always good when an image has multiple crops.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the whole dress thing. It almost looks like an album cover. Or it looks... I mean, she said this was based on a Dream Le Rêve. This feels like a Vegas-style poster that you would see that's advertising something. I think this has so many uses, and the fact that it's just a... I say just a, but it's a self-portrait. Like, that is really, really cool.
Next up. What do we have here? See, now this is one of these images where I'm like, what the heck is going on here? I hope they wrote in the description what this is. Do you remember if they did or not?
They did, because I made sure all of them did. But this is a one-sentence one.
Yeah.
This almost got excluded.
They just wrote one sentence. The photographer is Flash in Models. And they wrote, a bridge with these lights in Copenhagen shot at night. That's interesting. So literally just showed up to a bridge and told a girl to lean up against the wall. And it looks like some high-end set that was built in the studio. But very interesting. We've got another super chat. Keep the live shows going. Didn't like it at first. Now I love them. I love the off topic. It's so funny. Like in the past, you know, when we were doing the critiques and we would go off topic.
Yeah.
Some people, like, do you remember?
Back when they were edited and we had to decide, do we
you're
cut
right.
this out?
Yeah.
And like
when they were
sometimes
edited.
David would edit, or we had a guy here editing, and it would be like, guys, you could just talk about this all comes
Like I was
out.
talking about the Subway selfie combo for like months. And we would, like, I would talk more about the selfie combo situation than we would ever talk about the photos. And then people would be like, I'm unsubscribing because you only talk about Subway sandwiches. And then all the other comments would be like, the best part of this is the selfie combo debate.
The best part of it is the dog peeing on you live on...
That's what, yeah, like Pi sends it, like, I don't even think Pi watches our content. And he sent us a message and he was like, when Patrick's dog peed on Lee live on the internet, that was the greatest thing I've ever seen.
We were at a party last night, and some random guy was like, dude, the dog peeing on Lee was so great. Did you find a sitter for your dog? And I'm like, I haven't even met you. And they know.
Who are you?
And this is like an hour and a half into the show.
Yeah.
So it's not like somebody just watched the first 5 minutes and this happened.
That's right. All right.
Hopefully they didn't see all the waxing we did. Like forget about that. Or the gold face. There's a lot of...
When I sprayed that and then inhaled the poison.
All right, our audience is like, I do not remember what you guys are talking about. But
yeah, we, although nobody has seen all of the live content we have made,
more than
we
your mom.
have. Well, I was just
your
gonna
mom
say,
probably has.
I don't like. I think we
She gave up?
even do too much
For her.
For her, like our live videos are so long. Like the coronavirus videos were like 3 hours each.
Yeah, I would hope your mom's not watching every second of that. That
I
would
don't
be a
think
little
she
much.
could take it anymore.
All right, should we get back to...
Yeah,
on
let's
topic
rate
here.
this.
All right.
3, 2, 1. I'm in between a 3 and a 4. We've been right on the money, right? We've all agreed on all of these.
We have this time.
Um,
There's some weird, like, stylistic things that I don't like about this. I'm not a fan of this, like, white stripe on the makeup. Maybe that's super trendy and, like...
I don't even see that.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult to see, but, like...
Oh,
I
on
felt
her
like
lips?
I felt like it was a highlight on her lips, and then I zoom in, and I think it's in the makeup. And if this is a makeup shot, maybe there'll be more makeup that's kind of crazy, but this almost feels like a clothing or a model shoot. And I feel like the lipstick and the makeup kind of takes away from it. And I also feel like I want more fill from the right-hand side. I don't need a lot, but her face... It's like if you look at it small on the screen and kind of squint, it's like the shadows on her face aren't super flattering when it's small and you just quickly look at it. And if there was fill, I have no doubt this girl's a gorgeous girl. If you had a little bit of fill in there, you still get the effect of like this is shadowed.
Mm-hmm.
and moody and side lit, and your key light's going to be the bridge. But it maybe even the fill could be like a blue tint or something. But
I think I could dig that.
There's something I want more on the left side of her face, camera right, that is kind of making this not feel as strong. And then paired that up with the lipstick, it just feels like.
So
in the lipstick, you could retouch that, and that could be fixed. You could have that with or without. Just because you had it on set and she had the lipstick doesn't mean that you can't just get rid of it.
That's true. In the chat, Ivan says that he has seen every one of our live shows. Is there any sort of trivia, anything that you could ask him and then see if he could answer? What is something that we talked about?
Did we talk enough about this? There was 2 or 3 episodes where we filmed the entire thing with a different camera. And it wasn't the GH5 that we used.
What was the other camera?
What was the other camera?
Okay.
You get a free tutorial.
Yeah, free tutorial if you have the
he
answer
says
to
it
that.
without somebody else beating him to it, and he just copies it.
Okay. Next up.
All right.
What the fuck is this? I probably shouldn't be cursing. What is this?
This is a unusual lighting.
How is this unusual?
I don't know. Like, this was a little deeper in the submissions, and I thought, let's try to throw something in that's not a girl with shadows over her.
So Danny just wrote a super chat, and he said, "You guys are literally occupying 6 tabs in my browser right now because I love revisiting the coronavirus journals / critiques with Mike Kelly." Really?
So that means
you are going back already and watching old coronavirus journals. I didn't think anybody was doing that. I've gone back and skimmed through a few of them, and it is interesting to see my demeanor because I think I was like
the very first episode.
super
I watched
depressed.
the opening, and it's like, guys, this is Lee Morrison. I'm Patrick Hall, and we're normally a photography channel, but the world's so crazy right now.
We're not allowed to take photos.
We thought it was important to document this historic moment, and like we look like our families were dying, like it looks.
Well,
maybe they. I mean, we thought maybe they were.
Some people maybe were. Who knows? All right, let's rate this.
We have good news for Danny though.
2 stars
on the Mike Kelly.
The answer is 2 stars.
2 stars?
That's what the answer is.
The answer is 2 stars.
Yeah. All right. Can we move on? This is just like a snapshot.
You don't even want to talk about this?
This is a snapshot of a bed. I don't know what are we looking at here.
I feel like this is a pretty good shot. Like not like great, but.
Like, ready for your portfolio?
Probably not, but...
Okay, so it's 2 stars.
What do you not like about it? I think more it's the composition.
I don't like the composition. I don't like the styling of the room. I don't really like the lighting. It just looks like a snapshot of an ugly bedroom.
It looks like an Airbnb shot that would make me feel like, oh, well, they have great window lighting and probably a good view, and it's like a high-rise.
It's a fine Airbnb shot. It's a fine Airbnb shot, but that's not a portfolio shot.
Let me see. Could you tighten this up? And like, I'm trying to help with the critique here. Is there something you could do to make it look... Do we like this composition better or something? I don't know.
Ivan says, laugh out loud, sorry, I don't fully recall. I believe it's a Sony something, A7S3. No! It was a Blackmagic 4K. And we sent it back because we didn't like it. And
had crazy color grade. We can never get the colors look right.
Yeah, and people said it looked blurry.
Yeah.
So we sent it back. Sorry, you had a chance at a tutorial. We thought you were a super fan.
You got to watch them all over again.
You can start from the very beginning.
Start from the beginning. All right. Moving on. This image you probably need to like see on the iPad or something, because with the contrast on our monitor up here, I don't know that you're going to be able to...
I can pull it up right here. Maybe.
Is this monitor even more...
Okay, I see. So it's like sand dunes with the moon.
This is Saskatchewan.
This was taken by Mike Yakulik. And recently went to the Great Sand Hills of Saskatchewan. My dad, blah, 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 blah. Oh, the smoke from the BC fires covered the lower part of the sky, and when the sun dropped behind it, turned to a deep red. So is this the sun?
What did you think it was, the moon?
Yeah. The smoke was so thick you could see straight at it. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty cool. Okay.
That's a wild looking sun. I mean, it almost looks like a planet or a 3D rendering of.
It feels
something.
like Star Wars. You know how Star Wars, they always have like the planets, like extra moons and stuff around the sandy planets. That's kind of what it feels like. That's cool. And you know, this is an example of a photograph that could be made in 2 seconds in Photoshop. And you're like, is this that good of a photo? But then when you read the story, and that's why the description is so important, you're like, whoa, this is real. And it looked like that to the human eye. You could actually look straight at the sun, and it was that smoky. That's pretty crazy.
But does it hold up?
Is it a good photo? That's the problem. I don't know how to. Okay, let's go. 3, 2, 1.
I'm between a 2 and a 3. I feel like I just want you to like manipulate the bottom and bring the exposure up a little bit more to where.
That's what's so tough about this, because I feel like
that's allowed in photojournalism, though. Can you dodge and burn?
Yeah, I know, but like
you can't like move pixels, but can you? Where's the limit there? You know.
I know. That's what's so hard with this. The value of this image is not in the picture. The value in this image is this is like a historical, scientific,
unique situation that you captured, and it's all in camera, and it wasn't manipulated and faked. It's much like the Atlas in the Sun, where this guy just showed up on the beach and lifted.
It's not like that.
No?
But this image, you know, a lot of our rating system is like 2 stars needs work before it hits your portfolio. 3 stars is a solid image for your portfolio. I don't feel like this image is capable of being in someone's portfolio without a description. Do you agree? I mean, should this be? It just doesn't. It doesn't.
I don't know if I can go as far as that. I mean, I gave it a 2, but
well, then you have to go as far as that.
I just don't know if you always have to put a description in there.
But
maybe a lot of images. I mean, that's why you have books. You have like a whole book, and it's got a description of like what happened in this shoot.
Sure.
Does every image benefit from? I know people like to say if it needs any explanation, it's not a good photograph. But aren't most great photographs still better with the behind-the-scenes knowledge of what went along with it? You know, I feel like a song is like that. I mean, there's like books on. I mean, I got a book here on Pink Floyd's entire catalog. Every Beatles song, if you get the behind the scenes on the song, doesn't that make the song better? I think it does.
Yeah, but if the song is bad, but then there's a story where you're like, oh, you had to hand make the guitar in 24 hours and like that's the best sound you could get out of it, that's pretty good. Like, then it would make sense.
Maybe.
All right, next up. This image
does something to you?
It does something for me. I feel like this is my favorite image of the critique.
You would say that, Lee Morris.
I probably would, yeah. But I don't know how this was done. And I hope. Oh, man, Mike Reese just gave a $20 super chat. It says, love all the live chats, guys. Well, thank you so much.
20 pounds, Lee.
Even more.
Is it? Do we know the conversion right there?
Hasn't the pound been worth more than the dollar for decades?
I don't know. I get that mixed up with the euro.
I thought both were worth more. So this image was taken by Jeff Binion. Shot with 2 RGBW light panels behind the model to get the blue highlights. I used an optical snoot with a 60-watt LED light and 2 flags put on the snoot attachment to create this triangle effect. What?
I'm telling you, we need to get one of these modifiers because you can create the sharpest edge in any kind of shape you want. I'm assuming the LED light was so he could see what he's doing.
No way. I was even thinking that this couldn't have been done in Photoshop. And I was thinking maybe she was painted like this because it looks too good. And I didn't know, how could you get flesh tone to go that black but still have it look this realistic? You can't just paint it black and have it look realistic.
Well, one technique that you could do with this, you know, that I've wanted to play around with a little bit more is you have those Pocket Wizard Plus 3. What's the other Pocket Wizard? It's the multi sports shooters use. I have one or two of those back in Charleston that we had in our studio. And what you can do with those is you can set the timing off to where you can take a photo like this where it takes 2 consecutive images really quickly.
Yep.
And you could shoot a backlit image and get this whole image backlit. But then you would have a perfect second exposure that would be lit with a hard light and have her entirely illuminated. And then you stack them on top of each other and you could blur them, or you could start to like mask out different things. I've wanted to play around with that a little bit more, like doing multiple exposures with 2 different lighting setups. I think years ago, I think maybe I wrote an article in F-Stoppers about a Sports Illustrated photographer who did this. You have an athlete for 5 minutes. If you could set up, I think Greg Heisler's told us about this too, where you set up multiple lighting setups for 2 completely different moods.
Yeah.
But when you take the picture, you're taking 2 images, like you could have LeBron jumping up, and you have the moody shot, but then the second shot is the more standard shot, and you're able to get twice as many images at the exact same moment.
Yep.
I thought maybe that's what was done here, but having read this, they're using the snooted modifier with the optical.
An optical snoot. That just doesn't look real to me. That is wild. I would love to see this raw image unedited. I mean, how much contrast was added to this? Was there burning done to darken up the blacks a little bit?
The one thing that bothers me about this image, although we haven't rated it, is when I start looking at her neck, there's some color or tone or retouching that I feel like needs to be manipulated. Because when I notice it now and look at it,
it looks like
her neck looks like
Arnold Schwarzenegger's like bicep or something.
Yeah, it's like lizardy and like it's something about it. The warmth and the reds
That's true.
don't match the tones of her chest. And now I just feel like, man, she looks super fit and sexy, but then her neck looks like a bodybuilder that's just straining. And I wonder if you could just like retouch. And if this is straight out of camera, just with some editing done on the raw file, maybe it loses something, like you said, the previous image, when you start retouching the neck, and then do you keep retouching everything? But now that I look at the neck, I'm like, I feel like I want that to be smoother and silkier and sexier and like all of the things that the rest of this image have.
Well, Jeff is currently an F-Stoppers writer, so glad to have such talented photographers on board. And
you want to rate this? We never.
I got to get me one of these optical snoots. 3, 2, 1. I'm in between a 4 and a 5. Like, I don't know what it would have to be to do a 5. Maybe I'd want a more interesting background for a 5 or something. But like, I don't know that I've ever seen an image like this before. I don't know. When I saw it, I was so confused as to how this was created. And now to know it was done in camera, I'm even more impressed.
There's so much you can do with this, like effect, because it's visually so jarring with the color, and then, you know, you're perfectly hiding the right amount of nudity to where, like, does this fit for safe environment? Like, I don't know. It almost looks like a swimsuit. It almost looks like a superhero. I keep seeing, like, Catwoman in this. And you could do a series where it's, like, superheroes, both men and women or something, and with these different lighting scenarios.
Wouldn't that be interesting? Like if you could, because you know a lot of the superheroes have the masks where like they show their mouth, you know?
Yeah.
And if you could create some sort of mask shape.
On their face?
On their face. Yeah, so they're in shadow, but then they have, you know, I think that could be interesting.
We got to get one of these.
Got to get one of them optical snoots, man.
With the spherical earth orb.
That's true.
Or whatever that.
The earth orb.
The attachment.
Yes. Let's go full screen on this bad boy. This is certainly not unique lighting. This image.
This could arguably be the most unique lighting because the lighting will never
shut
ever
the hell up.
look like this again.
I'm going to turn this live stream off right now.
Every single sunset is a
bullshitting.
fingerprint that's unique to that specific moment in time in that location.
I don't know if we've told this story before, but when Patrick and I worked at Ritz Camera, this guy would come in and you would think, you know, he'd be like an old, lonely old man or something, but he was in his 20s, right?
Yeah.
And he had this shitty, like, point and shoot camera or something, and he'd come in and he'd brag about his photos, and he he was not joking. And he'd talk about how he got this once-in-a-lifetime photo. And then he'd pull up these images or like he'd print them and show them to us. And it would be like a bee on a flower.
The one I remember specifically, I think it was a butterfly on a flower. And it's like he put the macro mode on the point and shoot.
Yeah.
So I guess it would get a little closer.
But these are not good images. Like,
How
they
did that
weren't
work? How did
lit.
the macro mode work on a camera? It's not doing anything physically different, right?
Yeah, it's probably, you know, like they have the lenses that move. It probably like does something with one of the lenses to make it focus closer.
I don't know. I didn't know if it was really actually doing anything or if it...
Also, back then, point and shoot cameras were like 2 to 4 megapixels. So maybe they didn't even need to be in focus. And they would
I
appear to
don't
be.
know.
But
This guy came in and was just like, have you ever seen something like this? It's a once-in-a-lifetime moment that I captured. And you're like, I don't know if do I take this guy seriously?
Yeah.
Is he waiting for me to like joke and give him crap? Or am I going to offend him and start a fight here in this photo lab?
Yeah. Daniel says he watched every coronavirus journal a couple of times.
A couple of different times.
All right, so let's ask him a bit of trivia. What is a good...
This is an easy one. I'm just trying to think. There was some super chat that people wanted to build to get one of us to do something fairly extreme, but we never did it.
You're just giving them a free tutorial, but okay.
You think that one's too easy?
Well, you already asked it. So, Daniel, if you can answer that question in the next 20 seconds, you'll get a free tutorial.
No, I'm sorry. I just gave Daniel a tutorial.
Yeah.
You come up with a harder one to...
All right, I will next. All right, let's rate this. 3,
All right.
2, 1. Maybe it's 3 stars, but it didn't follow the directions, so...
What didn't they do? Oh,
This isn't unique lighting.
you don't think that's unique lighting to have
No.
this V-shaped like X sunset that like looks kind of crazy to me. The way the sunset is setting, you have only part of the sky is showing the warm highlights, and then because of the reflection in the water, it's creating this really weird shape. I mean, have you seen a sunset that like has these weird spots? I mean, every sunset again looks unique to some degree, but I think that's a kind of...
look, Daniel got it wrong. He said to wax your chest. No, he actually did wax his chest. That was done.
Yeah.
But it was to shave Patrick's head. A WoW player could have gotten the free tutorial, but you weren't Daniel. Sorry, guys. You guys are lying about being super fans. You have no idea. Let's move on. What do we have here? This is somewhat unique lighting. Are you ready to rate this?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Really?
3? I went 4. I think it was a cool image. I'd love to have a bunch of these in my portfolio. I feel like...
Why do I feel like this is a little bit cheaper than some other bicolor portraits I've seen? I feel like this model looks great. I feel like her outfit's super cool. But there's something about this that feels a little cheaper to me than some other ones. What do you think that is? One, I think, you know, having this the 45 lighting when lights are like this, I think that kind of cheapens it. But is it also because she's too close to the background? Does that make it feel a little bit cheaper? I don't know.
Looks like there's some kind of ring light. Does ring light as fill cheapen images to you, or does it give it a stylistic choice that's like...
I don't know. I think sometimes it can, but sometimes it gives lights these people these like glowing features, and she might have that on that cheekbone right there, and it kind of makes people look awesome in some images. I don't know. It's like...
There's this weird little critique that my eye just keeps going to, and that is I do not like how her shirt is showing up. Like if it makes it feel a little bit more normal. Like this is just a girl with a crazy furry jacket on. But if you cloned that out and made it, maybe even the jeans feel a little too normal. Everything above her waist just feels like a little bit more exotic and crazy. And if I crop it this way, she almost looks like she's gained 20 pounds. But I don't know. I just clone out that little bit of shirt underneath.
Dennis gave us a super chat, and just to say that they voted for Patrick to shave his head off. He's trying to buy a free $300 tutorial for $5, and it's not going to work, Dennis.
He's also trying to get me to cut the hair for €5, and I don't think that's definitely.
You totally could have done it, man, because your excuse over a year ago was like, I got to get married, man. My hair's going to be bad, and then you had to postpone the wedding. Which
well,
you might
I've been thinking. We're not postponing the wedding again.
What do you mean, dude? Delta variant. Are you going to wear the face shield during the ceremony?
I hope Kristen's not watching, but I'm a little concerned that our venue's going to be like, we have to wear masks and like, because the pandemic was over as of a week ago.
How can they tell you have to wear masks? Like,
they're going to have their venue. It's like they have insurance and they have.
They're going to have food. Haven't we all learned that it's totally safe if you're eating? You don't have to have the mask?
The saving grace is the wedding's in Florida, and Florida doesn't care.
There you go.
But when this all started, they had, like, Florida said no more than, 20 or 50 people at a time in venues.
Yeah.
And so our venue was like, you can't have a wedding over 50 people. And we're like, oh, ours is so far in advance.
How many people do you have?
I don't know. We're hoping for like 100, 120.
Oh.
So, like, that would be a big problem if everyone already booked everything and it's like, oh, the venue says you can only have 75 people and we have to, like, indoors. I mean, there's an outdoor element to our wedding, so maybe just, I don't know.
They have somebody at the door with a clicker.
It could be such a mess, but I still feel like the pandemic's over, but the numbers are ticking back up and the deaths are always a month away, a month behind. They're starting to tick up too.
They're ticking up.
And depending on what headlines you read, I'm reading that people that are vaccinated can spread the virus as easily as people who are not vaccinated. And I'm like, is that for real? But then I also read that it's like 0.001% of people that are vaccinated are dying. So I'm like, all right, you're not going to die from it, but it's kind of confusing right now.
Next up.
All right.
Or is that the final image? Oh,
I believe.
I feel like this image, where you have somebody's face with the beam of light, I feel like we've tried this so many times and hated it every time.
I just hinted at a video that I have coming out about this, and I really like the images.
Okay, you pulled it off?
Maybe,
I don't think I've seen your
Maybe
images.
her wardrobe could have been a little bit better. I just picked one of the random outfits that she had, and I'm like, not my favorite wardrobe, but it took a lot of effort to get this look. And then in the video that I'm about to release, I asked the question, can you just fake this in Photoshop? And I feel like the Photoshop image looks as good or better because you can perfectly place the shadows where you want them.
Oh, that's the concept of your video.
Yeah.
But notice here, like if you zoom in on that beam on her face, can you see how there's almost like a...
Double shadow?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of the effect.
What are you talking about?
Like, that's part of the natural effect that if you want to get that transition really, really sharp, I think you need those optical snoots, or you need your light really, really far away, or you need your gobos really, really close. Like, there's 3 different things that are probably affecting this look.
Yeah.
And if you want to achieve this look in Photoshop and have control of the density of the shadows, maybe you don't want it to go as black as this, or you want to control exactly where the transitions are, doing this in Photoshop is way, way, way easier, in my opinion. I wasn't sure you could do it in Photoshop, and maybe every time you can't. Like, there's going to be situations where it's a little tricky. In my example, I was like, man, doing it in Photoshop was as easy or easier than doing it.
Oh, I'm excited to see your video. It'll be the first F-Stoppers video I've seen in quite a while. Are you ready to rate
Besides
this?
the half that you create.
Yeah, I watch
Yep.
mine all the time. 3, 2, 1.
Between a 2 and a 3.
Really?
I could
2
take it or leave. I
stars?
mean, I just don't think it's... I like the effect. I like the red. It's eye-catching. But I just feel like she isn't really giving me enough. The raised eyebrow and... I don't know. I feel like this image, she just needs to be... Her expression needs to be stronger. I mean, what does Peter say? Out to lunch? Look at that eye. Like, she just looks like she's looking past the camera, I don't get any kind of connection with this girl.
I see what you're saying.
It's going to be hard to say that looking at it small on the screen, but if you look at it large and just really focus on her, it just feels like a test shoot where the light's cool, the shadow's cool, but I'm just not getting anything from the model.
Eric Denk in the comments right now says he has the Pfizer vaccine and he just got COVID-19 and he's been sick at home for 4 days.
How sick, though?
He said pretty severe symptoms for 4 days.
What is severe, though? Because when you really look at what's mild and severe, I mean, severe is just shy of going to the hospital, right?
Yeah, I don't know where that
mild symptoms are a fever, headaches, loss of smell. That's mild still. Like, all of that is still medically mild.
Yeah.
Severe is you are now having difficulty breathing, and you're right before you need to have like hospital intervention.
Was Kristen having trouble breathing?
She never had trouble breathing, and that was my fear. I kept worrying, but she had pounding headaches to where she was having hot flashes, and she'd sleep and the bed would be soaked. Still mild symptoms, like, you know, mid-level symptoms. So let us know how bad it's getting. I mean, do you feel like you are worried for your life and you might have to go to the hospital? And her fever also came and went. It'd be like she'd have 104-degree fever for a couple hours, and then a day or two no fever, and then the fever would come back on day 4 and 5. Like, it was this very like roller coaster ride where I had the vaccine and got it, and I just had this like low-level headache all day for 2 weeks. I felt nauseous, felt like maybe I would throw up, but I felt bad enough to where I really couldn't carry on with my day. But now looking back on it, it wasn't like, man, I had nothing compared to her, and she would still have clinically a mild case.
Pretty freaky. He says that it was a severe flu for him. So, I don't know. Like, I've had flu before, and I feel like I want to die, but I'm also a wimp. Is this the final image?
This is the final image. So this is the winner of a free tutorial.
Send me a private message on fstoppers.com and let me know which tutorial you would like, and I will send that right over to you. Anybody who's watching this, head over to fstoppers.com/contests. Submit your minimalistic photos. Head over to fstoppers.com/store to check out all of the full-length tutorials that we've made, including our newest one, the Well-Rounded Photographer, which has how many instructors?
8 different instructors, 8 different genres, and they're all like an hour and a half, 2 hours long. So there's something for everybody.
I think it's a fun watch.
The thing I'm concerned about, what they're talking about in the chat, is I'm about to go to Italy. And I'm like, oh, I'm vaccinated. I'm really not worried about the virus. Like, I can get into Italy pretty easily. Getting back into the States is a little trickier. I have to have a negative test within 3 days. I'm worried what happens when I get a false positive test. Or what happens if I have a Kristen or I get a very mild case, but we're still positive?
I know.
I then have to be in Italy, I think, for another 10 to 14 days. So...
And you know, what about those people who keep testing positive for 6 months straight and they can't get a negative test?
I had a lot of positivity for a while, and then they gave me like a swab in the car, and they were like, do your own, and I had to go somewhere. And I'd already gone past the 10 days. The CDC said I was fine. CDC said don't continue to try to test till you're positive, till you're negative.
Yeah.
But I was like, I need to test for this flight. So I just kind of did a little swab and came back negative.
Didn't go up into the brain.
I didn't go up into the brain, yeah.
Gotcha.
So I don't know. If you guys don't see me for a while, I might be stuck in Italy. I'm there for a week, but I might be there for 3 weeks. I really hope not. That's going to be an expensive trip. And then can I...
People are saying that we should give Eric a free tutorial because he's stuck at home with COVID and he's been nice in the comments. I think we could do that. So Eric, send me a private message on fstoppers.com. Let me know which tutorial you want, and I'll give you something to watch while you're stuck home in bed.
The catch is he has to log into the next critique and give us an update on both the tutorial he picked and, you know.
There you go.
And then also how he's doing, you know. How the tutorial saved his life. It got him better.
That's true. He was very sick, severe flu-like symptoms.
From our studies.
And then he watched the 10-hour-long tutorial, and then he got better. So it's like hydrochloroquine.
No, it's ivermectin.
Is that
Get
the
it
new?
right.
That's the new meme drug.
And my dad thinks it's a cure-all for everything. He's like, it cures other things other than.
Cures cancer too.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, there's some studies. I'm like, Dad, don't. You can't say that stuff. You can't say something cures cancer. But he might believe that.
All right. Anything else that we have to talk about, or should we call it a day?
I got so much to do. Like, I gotta figure out how to get to the Vatican. We have a jam session in like an hour.
Did you write and say we're definitely on?
Yeah, we're
Okay.
definitely on.
Okay,
And then I still am packing, and then I leave tomorrow. I feel like we probably shouldn't have done the jam session, but
Dude, you and I can pack in like 15 minutes. Like, what in the world do we have to pack?
you're right. Like, I'm fine. I'm just like, I would like to investigate a few more things for this trip because, you know, when you travel, you never know if you're gonna have internet. And I don't like to book that. You do like to book things like, hey, let's go to the Vatican tomorrow. But I could also see where that's totally booked up, and I'd like to have a few things in place.
The thing is that you're just going to have so many hours at the airport. You're going to have so many hours in the airplane, and you could pay the $8 and have internet.
Do you
know?
get internet over the ocean? Because
In
from Puerto
some
Rico,
planes
you don't.
You do, and in other planes
When
you
you
don't.
leave Miami, we never have Wi-Fi getting to Puerto Rico, but I would imagine they have internet. They have satellite internet for intercontinental flights, right? So I'll definitely pay for that, but it's been a while since I've flown overseas, so.
And you guys got the normal seats. You got lay flat.
Got normal cheap. I mean, I wouldn't say cheap seats. They were like $1,200 a seat, but they're just regular seats. And then I just got bumped to first class from San Juan to New York, but Kristen didn't.
Because you're
Silver
medallion.
Yeah, but I don't know how that works. If she's on my itinerary, but she's not a medallion member, would she get bumped with me or no?
She's poor. She's got to be in the back.
So I got to figure that out. I actually got to figure out how to check in because they're telling me that I don't have the right visa because I'm a student studying abroad and I might not be able to like fly at all. And I'm like, how did I get marked? She and I both got marked as international students traveling with a visa in the States. And I'm like, well, that's not true.
That's very strange.
So I got to call Delta again, but the times to get through are like hours.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for watching. Again, fstoppers.com/contests. And we will see you, I guess, in a week from now.
Hopefully we'll see you.
Yeah. See ya.